And so start at the customer journey entry point and work your way to scheduling that meeting. What do you say when you call them back? What is the email sequence that they get as a drip campaign? What does the sales meeting look like? What does the agenda of that sales meeting look like? Okay, well, if they're ready to go, what does onboarding look like? And then when they're onboarded, what does the project management look like?
Welcome to the Manage Self, Lead Others Leadership podcast with Nina Sunday for experienced and aspiring people managers. This show will help you explore ways to become a more intentional leader. Each episode, host Nina Sunday speaks with some of the brightest business minds on the planet who share a passion to elevate and transform team culture. Workplace culture hides in plain sight. Is yours flourishing? Join the movement to make your workplace a better place to work. Are you ready? Because it's time to manage self, lead others.
In this episode, we're going to meet Pete Romano, from advertising agency to developing a new CRM designed for complex sales, onboarding and customer management. In this episode, we're going to meet Segwik, Segwik. It is a tool for scheduling appointments, managing client follow-ups, handling customer queries. And as you listen, see if you can work out, maybe you've even got some of the tools available in your own SaaS tool kit that you're not even using. So find out what you could be using that you should be using with automation and the customer journey. But in the meanwhile, I'd like to welcome Pete Romano.
Well, thanks for having me on the show today, Nina. This is great.
So what's the one thing that a lot of businesses, maybe mid-sized businesses, whatever that means, are not doing that they should be doing around automation or the customer journey? You must see gaps that is commonly seen in different organizations.
Yeah, like there's all these moments that I deal mostly with professional services organizations, lawyers, accountants, construction, real estate. There's all these moments where you meet a person and you could do a better job following up. You do something and a better job following up. You send a quote, a better job following up. You meet somebody at an event, a better job following up. Or some people just, they inbound contact formed you need to follow up with them. And people just drop the ball on that.
Yeah, right. So Segwik, which is the name of your platform, has an automated way of handling those so you don't miss the opportunity, so it doesn't fall through the cracks?
Yeah, our system allows the business to automate the entire process from the beginning of the customer journey to the end. And it gives us a blank palette in order to put all of the notes of the symphony of your business that you want to build. And so if you're building a dark and brooding symphony, or if you're building a lighthearted, energized symphony, our tool can act as a blank palette. Even our logo on our website is like a robot who's holding up all of these touch points in this animated kind of way. And what that's telling the viewer of our website is that lay the responsibility of these things happening on Segwik, the system, the robot here that's meant to automate these things, to do these follow-ups. And a follow-up isn't necessarily just an email. Like when I say follow-up, I'm also secretly in my mind referring to this idea that, well, when they do this, make sure we change them from a prospect to a lead. Or when they open an email, make sure you trigger this next thing. And so there's all of these there's all of these little business
trigger
rules.
Events. Yes.
Yeah, there's all of these little business rules that these CRMs fall apart the moment you implement them into your business. Within moments, they become outdated because it relies on the human to update this attribute or change a prospect to a lead or say we met or and what I learned through building the software itself, what I learned from being involved in the programming is that there that the truer to reality you make your CRM, the more powerful it's going to be. The truer to what's happening in the real world, you can make the CRM reflect. Your business is your CRM. And the degree to which you've created business rules that support every step that, okay, well, we add 2 points to their lead score for every open email. Okay, well, that's a business rule. Let's make sure that's automated. Okay, well,
You have a
people
lead
start.
score. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, here's another idea. Here's people, and that was just an example, but
But that's a new
people
one for me.
people
Good.
start at prospects. So maybe you do data mining and you have a list that you want to outreach to. They don't know you're coming,
Yeah.
right? There's people in your list. So we
Yeah.
call those prospects in our system. And then you market to them. But if you get some sort of interest behavior,
Yeah.
then they become a lead.
Yeah.
Well, are you going to do that manually, or are you going to figure out how to tap into that thing that they touched, your website, the open email, the inbound call, in order to automatically convert them to a lead? Are you going to, when you send a quote to a client, are you going to update that stage automatically, or are you going to rely on your human, frail salespeople to be badgered once more into responding
Adding a
to
note to the CRM, sent proposal.
yeah, and notes are great, but the more that you can boil down everything that happened into little like drop downs and analyze what's really happening. Like for example,
Mm.
if you're doing cold outreach to somebody, you can add a note about what they say when you get on the phone with them. You could type in a note, and that note sits in the upper right corner somewhere. But that note doesn't really provide value from an automation sense. From a
Yeah.
human sense, yes, you could read what they said, et cetera, et cetera. You could get some takeaway. But if you're trying to automate things, there's only 7, 8, or 9 takeaways from a cold outreach.
Right.
They were interested, they were not interested, call you back, do this, do that, do that. You could list them. There's 8 or 9
Mm.
main takeaways. Well, you can add that note, but if you use that in conjunction with a drop-down menu,
Right.
then you can automatically trigger whatever you need to happen. If they were highly interested, you have that in a drop-down, that could be a trigger for one thing. If they said call back later, that could be a trigger for another thing. If they said, um, send me a proposal, that could be another trigger for another thing. If you figure out all of these little moments, then you're much further along the way of automating everything about your business.
So what I'm hearing is there's a lot of if this happens, then this happens. And so it's the if then automation that's really important. Is that right?
Correct. If then.
Pete, we are coming to the end of our time. It's fascinating. I'm learning some new things here. So I appreciate that. We've got a special offer for our listeners or viewers using the code Nina Sunday at the end of segwik.com. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, for your listeners and your listeners only, we're going to set up a URL for anybody that wants to meet with us and hear a little bit more about what it is that we do that is so special for your business. And we're going to work out to make it very much worth your while for the listeners of Nina's podcast here to just book that call and learn what how that business can be the business you always wanted it to be.
And it's going to be segwik.com/Nina Sunday, one word. And Segwik is SEGWIK.
SEGWIK.com.
/Nina Sunday. You've decided to create an all-in-one automated platform that will help business, small business, large business, to automate their customer interactions, their tools for scheduling appointments, managing client follow-ups. How did that all happen?
So when I decided to go out on my own, I had what some, if you're a fan of Michael Gerber's E-Myth, you have an entrepreneurial spasm.
Big
And so
time.
I had one of those, and I had a friend who had a video camera, and I had this background in creative production, and I would work on these commercials and work on these commercials, and so I decided, well, let me put this talent to work for the small businesses. I didn't have big agency connections like many people do. I was working just as a vendor to these agencies, so I couldn't pull upon those to stay in that world. So I decided to go into a world where I could just walk down the street and find businesses to work with. And that was working well for me. It was my first introduction into the small business community. And boy, was it a learning curve, because when you're working with producers and creative directors at big Madison Avenue agencies, they're paid to be there with you to do this project. And when you want to do that service, but you want to work for a small business, you have to contend with the fact that your client is also flipping burgers and doing accounting and doing the bookkeeping and doing all of these other things. And to catch them at the right time, to be able to just work on your project or to just pitch them, was just a big lesson that I had to compete for their attention. And so it really made me get out of my introverted mode and try to get me to be a little bit more outgoing and outspoken. And so I started networking within that community and just figured out that, boy, they need a lot more than just creative advertising. They really need operations. They really need process management. And so that's what
And
got
some
me in.
people just bumble along. They don't do courses, or they don't join groups of like-minded individuals. They just kind of think, well, I'm making a living. This is what Michael Gerber talks about. They've actually bought themselves a job. So, and they're actually putting out fires all over the place. It's, what is it? Whack-a-mole. The game.
Right. That's what he talks about in that book. I mean, for any of your listeners, I'm sure that you've probably mentioned this in the past. It's really a quintessential small business book to really reframe what you think that you're doing as a business, is that it's really not the person. If you're a baker, it's not necessarily the person with the best recipes that wins. If you're cutting hair, it's not really the best person who cuts hair that wins. It's really the person that puts the best processes and systems together that
And that can
wins.
scale it up and delegate. So they're working on high value tasks and not wasting time on low value tasks that you're much better off paying for that support.
Yeah, it's what you learn from this book is that your role as the entrepreneur, we throw that word around
Mm.
way too often, way too loosely. Your job as the entrepreneur is to invent your business. And I'm not talking about inventing the idea of cutting hair or the idea of restaurant, of serving food for money in a dining establishment. I'm talking about the systems that go into how you deliver that. And I have a prop here. I don't normally do props, but I have this
Oh,
box. Is
I love this box. That's
that a beautiful
gorgeous. It's a
box?
treasure chest.
My mother gave me this box. She
Yeah.
said to keep my important things in it. And what this box represents is your business.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to give this to you virtually across the pond, the systems that go into my business need to be all worked out.
Yes.
Everything that happens in your business needs to be perfectly worked out within this box, so that if I ever get up and I sell this box to you, it would open up and you would see all of these things just happening, and you could just decide to feed more money into it, pay more ads, add more staff, change staff around, and all of that would just be ready to
So it
go.
sounds like it's a business in a box.
Business in a box. And so
CRM in a box, all in one in a box.
I became obsessed with the with this idea that your business can just be picked up and given to somebody.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, I take it, I do it from a procedures manual, an operations manual, and having a checklist. Anything we do as a standard behavior has a checklist. So if I have a new person come on board, I don't have to brief them. As long as they can follow a checklist, we're right. They can get started. So, but you've got the same principle there. Fantastic.
Yeah, so Segwik was all about those processes. And then we took that just one step further where we said, okay, well, anybody can just create processes and just, look at different things and figure out, well, it would be better if you did this, or maybe it would be better if you tried that, or maybe answer the phone like this. And all of that's good, but we really wanted a framework. Like what's
A
something that
tool,
will work all the time, no matter what
a
business it is.
tool, yes.
The idea that we fell upon was just this idea of customer journey. And if you could map the beginning of your customer journey all the way through the end of your customer journey, and you knew every little thing that was supposed to happen to the customer and within your company, then that's the framework that would become a scalable business.
Well, I do have a spreadsheet. When I book a speaking booking or a workshop booking, there's actually maybe 15 columns, and everything has to happen in a step-by-step process. So that helps.
Correct. Yeah.
Sounds manual though.
Well, yeah, and it's like, so when you build your customer journey, it's not just about sort of knowing close to your chest that this happens, this happens, this happens. It's about involving your customer in this process. And so what I mean by that is we all get these boring Google Calendar invites. Oh, you're going to meet with me. I'm going to meet with you. You send the invite. No, I send the invite. And then your inbox fills up with boring
Yeah.
thing. Confirm, 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 confirm. Those are really boring. But if you're a service-based business and you're going to have a discovery call with a potential client in 4 days, well, why send them a boring Google Calendar, Outlook, V card invite type of thing?
Yeah.
Why not get a beautiful email that has an embedded video or a downloadable PDF, like at the moment of the booking? Okay, yeah, I'll meet with you. I'll hear about you. Cool. Boom. Within 10 seconds, that person has a beautiful storytelling email confirmation.
And I
And
want to
then,
confirm that when you sent me your confirmation for our discovery call, I was amazed by the beauty of it. Absolutely, with images and nice words. And there was the link. It was easy to see. I went, well, that's impressive. So tell us the must-haves that if there's a manager or a team leader listening to this, or a team member, that you go, well, we've got too many manual steps. What for the customer journey and for leads creation and managing, what would you say is the order of priority? Is it automation? Is it a different design or a different process? How would someone get started?
Yeah, so I love this topic, is that a lot of people get started down this road by doing it backwards. They heard of solutions, they've gotten references, and people have screamed about them from their friends, and the people go out into the market and they search for a tool, and then they try to make their business fit into how this tool works.
Yeah.
And so every software tool already has a built-in business philosophy that the creators of that tool have sort of imbued into that tool. And that sounds okay. Like, okay, get a tool and start to learn it, right? Get that tool, start to learn it. But those tools aren't necessarily geared for how you want to run your business. And so what I do with our clients is I invite them to put all that down. Let's have a discovery session. Let's have a whiteboarding session.
Right.
Let's put the customer journey up on the whiteboard and let's map these things out. And I'll start at the beginning because we're not going to have enough time for this whole podcast. We'll be here getting into a thesis level course if needed to. But I'll just say this, is that customer journey entry points, start there. Start with your customer journey entry points. And what do I mean by that? It's like all the way on the left side over here, you're going to have, well, your customer journey entry point might be your website, your contact form, or it might be your inbound phone call, or it might be your meeting at a networking event and collecting a business card,
Right.
or it might be where you and I met at a business networking on Zoom.
C-suite network.
Yeah, and so there's four there. I just listed four, I think. So networking, contact form,
Yes.
Zoom, your phone. It might be that you have an inbound text message. You might have a free webinar. You might have a downloadable PDF. And start to think of those things, because we all know about these things, but put those into
a lead magnet. That would be a good way. Yes.
Yeah. So put all those into a bucket and say, those are my customer journey entry points. That's where somebody starts my process. And like my being the listener here. I have a process that I'm building. I'm not going to react to my customers. I will, but I don't want to be 100% reactive. I want to have a path that they follow. And so start with the customer journey entry point. And then how do you make everything that happens after that as high value a touch point as you can? And that's where we start to get into that email that you experienced with my discovery call, which is, well, something as simple as a discovery call can have a very high quality to it. And so start at the customer journey entry point and work your way to scheduling that meeting. What do you say when you call them back? What is the email sequence that they get as a drip campaign? What does the sales meeting look like? What does the agenda of that sales meeting look like? Okay, well, if they're ready to go, what does onboarding look like? And then when they're onboarded, what does the project management look like?
I do remember when back in 2019, I had a lot of separate bits and pieces, a separate landing page, a separate email, bulk email distribution. And I actually went for all-in-one Kajabi. And I've worked out that I was able to make it a nil cost because by cancelling out all these other separate things, it actually worked out to be a little bit cheaper than the monthly for Kajabi. So it seems to me that you might have that similar equivalent, that if people had a discovery call with you, they could find out what it is, or they could map out all the things they're currently paying separate subscriptions for. And honestly, I don't know, we won't be discussing what your pricing is, but because it's tailored and it's unique to each person. But if people mapped out what they're currently paying for all their bits and pieces to stay in touch with clients, to respond to leads, honestly, you're usually better off with a all-in-one solution. Is that right?
Yeah. Again, I don't want to come here and toot our own horn. I think that we have an interesting process that gives our clients the best of both worlds, because every business needs some sort of customization from what's on the shelf. You need to take what's on the shelf from the software, and you need to customize it in some way. And so because we've run our organization like a boutique agency, we are able to get into the customization process a little bit deeper, a lot deeper than what some of these other organizations are. The businesses do themselves a great disservice when they believe that the off-the-shelf version of anything is going to, without any guidance and without any support, get them where they really want to be.
Great. Pete, it's always a pleasure talking to you. You've got a very considered way of describing things. It's not sort of too frenetic or too manic. It's just really considered and logical, rational. And I feel that you come from the heart as well, which is nice.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, there's a big place in our heart at Segwik for all small businesses.
Thanks so much. All the best. See you next time.
Thank you.
In this episode, we were speaking with Pete Romano, who has the CRM designed for complex sales, onboarding and customer management, Segwik. And he has a special offer for listeners of Manage Self Lead Others. If you go to segwik.com segwik.com/Nina Sunday as one word. So that's SEGWIK. Segwik.com/Nina Sunday. And the link will be in the show notes. Until next time, bye for now.
Nina Sunday is on a mission to help leaders transform culture. To book Nina Sunday CSP to speak at your conference, visit ninasunday.com to request a proposal. Nina travels from Brisbane, Australia for in-person presentations Australia-wide. Twice certified virtual presenter, Nina Sunday presents virtually, globally, for any time zone.